Something I tell people is that we know more about Mars than we knew about the ocean, and there's a statistic that we've explored less than 15% of the ocean. And so there's like a lot of room to know more about what's happening underwater, and you need lots of different sensors. You want to know about the salinity of water, you want to know about the waves to create energy sometimes, but you also want to be listening for what's happening underwater, and that gives you a lot of information. And that data is what a lot of people are after these days. It's just more data, know more, and the more you know, the better decisions you can make. I'm Niru Somayajula. I'm the President and CEO of Sensortech. We are headquartered in Collingwood, Ontario, proudly in Simcoe County, and we recently opened a second location in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia at COVE, the Centre for Ocean Ventures and Entrepreneurship. What we do essentially is underwater acoustics, so creating and listening for sounds underwater, and you do that with something called a piezoelectric ceramic, which is essentially just high-tech pottery. And that's actually where we started. We started as part of Blue Mountain Pottery, which was a big commercial pottery here in Collingwood that employed 700 people back in the 70s and 80s. But that high-tech pottery is used to create and listen for sound, and then we cover it in things like epoxies and add wiring and cables and connectors. Essentially what people are trying to do with our sensors is either create images, kind of like ultrasound, underwater. And so whether you're looking for oil and gas, you send a pulse down into the water, and what comes back tells you what the geological formations are, and that helps people decide where to drill for oil. Fisheries will use our sensors on the back of fishing boats, and they'll want to know whether their nets are positioned right or whether their nets are maybe full. A lot of companies will use it just for listening, whether they're listening for marine life. For whales, maybe in shipping straits, you hear a lot about whales being struck by ships, and trying to mitigate that and with sound is really useful as well. My parents started the company, but I joined in 2007 as an operations manager here at the company. And then in 2011, I ended up buying out the shares of the business from my parents and took over as president and CEO in 2011. There was a lot of pressure coming into a business that was already established. We'd been in business 25 years and with a staff of 40 people. A big part of what I did early on was just kind of sit and listen, observe, trying to figure out what people were doing, how things worked, before I went in and tried to implement some of my own ideas. Well, we're on a pretty big growth curve right now. So over the last couple of years, we've invested almost $1 million of new equipment to be able to make different kinds of product, but also just a lot more product to increase our capacity. We also added the new facility in Nova Scotia, and that's been really big for us. That said, I always want more for us. I want us to grow. I want to employ more people. I want to create really interesting new technology. So we're always trying to be better. There's a lot of stress when you're running your own business, and just being here, it's great. I think the best part of being in Simcoe County, and Collingwood in particular, is like we've been able to attract really great staff, and the staff, we don't have a huge turnover. Once they come here, they stay, and that's really great because we've got a pretty good family. And I think that's the biggest part of being here, is that you attract really good people. I think a lot of young people and a lot of entrepreneurs in general think that everything has to happen in a big city, but there's a lot of resources in smaller communities. Simcoe County is no less. You don't need to be in the city to be successful. We've come a long way in the last 10 years, and we're on a pretty great curve right now. People are starting to know who we are and what we can do and how we can help them with their products, and I think it's kind of limitless now. And so yeah, I'm really proud of how far we've come together at Sensortech.